Hi. I hope the sounds okay. It doesn't. I spilt sardine juice on this phone, and it's really messed up, so I don't even know. The sounds really bad even when I watch YouTube videos. Whatever. Give me money. You can go find my PayPal if you want me to buy a microphone someday. It's been a minute since my last video because I've been really busy. So on September the 20th, there was the first day of the climate strike, and I went out for that. I took the day off from work. I told my boss, took the moment to tell him, I'm saying this as your coworker and not as you being my employer, though you are my manager. I'm not gonna be here on Friday. And he's like, why? And I'm like, solidarity. Go free the aliens, man. I didn't have a ride down to Nevada. I wish I had had a ride down to Nevada because then I would have gone a secondary ride down to Texas and gone down to the border camps and freed those aliens. And instead, I showed up to work 4 hours late, and I went to the protest downtown, which was not awful. But it was not as impressive as the Twitter pictures from New York and stuff, and Chile. All of the people taking to the streets to say, please do something about the climate. A bunch of people out there making their voice heard, having really funny protest signs. But at least locally, I have to close the door, the cats are scratching at it. At least locally, the people who were at the Friday climate strike were the sort of people who always show up to protest, the sort of people who always have Fridays off, the sort of people who are retired, kids who, because we live in a hippy-dippy little town, which I love, but they were high school kids who had the day excused off to go do climate things. And it was beautiful and it was gorgeous, but it was not very striky. I went back to work right after, and I recognized some people from the strike coming in to buy things. People were not doing a very good strike locally. And I don't talk about politics a lot on this channel, but my politics are very hyper-leftist. Think to yourself, Bernie Sanders is not progressive enough for her. Big socialist, big communist. I don't care too much about political labels. Am I a Marxist? Am I a whatever? I consider myself a utopianist. A better world is possible, and I need only demand it strongly enough. And if my demands are not... If my constant chatter on Twitter, if my constant talking to my coworkers about how when Dylan rules the world, everybody gets to have a shitty garage rock band. If they want. But everyone definitely wants that. And that's my politics boils down to no one should be homeless. No one should be starving. Spread the spoils. Make it equal. Make it nice. Make life worth living for everybody. And I'm very strong about that. And I will do whatever I feel it takes politically to make that happen in the long run. I very much intend to live to the year 2100. I only need to live to be 106, and 106 isn't even that old by modern standards. So by the time I'm old, 106 is going to be totally achievable. Right? So I'm working very hard on that. And so many people have so many strong, weird political views, and they're leftists, and, I don't have to go if I have to explain the degree to which leftists infight and you're only here for gender content, consider yourself very lucky. But I imagine if you're here for gender content, you're at least vaguely aware of how much the political left fights each other. So just look at the Bernie Sanders Elizabeth Warren fight and how many people try to make this very, it's about all of sexism, it's about all of whatever. I don't care. I really legitimately don't care. I think that politically we should be viewing it as who can you work with. I can work with anybody. I work with, at my job, I like do a job where I do customer service and I mop floors and I wash dishes and I make sandwiches for people and I make money for some guy I barely know who won't give me health insurance for $11.50 an hour before taxes. And I could do that with just about anybody. And if I can mop a floor and if I can organize, okay, well, who's going to do dishes while I set up the coffees? Who's going to wrap all of the food in saran wrap while I, if I can mop a floor with someone, if I can work with them, then we are politically inclined. We are ideologically, it doesn't matter where we are. I can work with you, and I can talk with you, and we can be pals. And it's gonna be okay. And so, I have a lot of big ideas, I just mentioned, no one should be homeless and no one should be starving. Isn't that such a big idea? Isn't that going to cost billions of dollars or whatever? Isn't that some utopian ideal? And, I agree, that is very utopian, but, as people who believe leftist ideas, things should be a little more equal, we need to work more on selling our ideas than preaching them. So people don't judge ideas, people don't judge facts. You need to be a likable, nice person who happens to constantly be talking about how you're definitely a communist. And then people will come around to whatever it is you think instead of ranting, instead of preaching. You need to really live those ideals, and I'm working very hard at it. And I was not disappointed because I did not expect much. I did not expect that I would reach the point where I could walk into any place of business and be like, now is the time. Now is the time. The revolution is finally hit. You go seize that means of production. But I really wish it had happened. I really did. But I didn't expect that it would happen in the September of 2019. But I had hoped that I would have made a little more progress. But I did make a little bit of progress. And I make progress with the people that I see every day. And it's cold outside and winter is coming. It is only fall, but I don't have enough fat on my bones. I'm still really loving this spot. I've made it much more comfortable. I actually set up my couch. Maybe I'll do a houseplant review soon. I have a couple of new ones. I got new pants today. But I'm spending a lot of time thinking about politics. My time that I'm not spending on the internet or at work, I've really fallen into science fiction. I really like sci-fi that's set in space colonies because I'm tired of this planet Earth right now, so I just want to imagine what it's like on Mars. So drop your sci-fi collections where it's sci-fi colonists, explicitly Marxists. Because I have a book that I'm reading right now that I really, really love, but it's also very much capitalism went to space. It's Kim Stanley Robinson, Red Mars. Would suggest anything by Kim Stanley Robinson. Skip to his newer stuff if you're like a fan of mine, because the book I'm reading right now was written in the 90s, and it sends 100 people to Mars. And it's not even stated explicitly, but it's stated somewhat that they're all straight. And I'm like, 100 people sent to Mars in 2030 something? Okay, guy. I'm sorry if my hand's shaking currently. I don't know. I'm just thinking a lot. Just think about politics. Be aware with people. Talk with people. The people you work with are your closest allies. The people who are working... I'm gonna keep this real quick. I have a whole rant that I give to people when I'm at the bar with them talking about global warming and shit. And I'm like, well, the people who are really going to be affected by global warming are not us well-off people with apartments in Eugene, Oregon, all right? Our big climate problem is going to be people from California trying to move up because all the people from Mexico are trying to move up, because all the people from Alabama are trying to move out, because everywhere else is going to become unlivable. And this place is fine. And so our biggest problem is like setting up for climate refugees. Everything's going to be fine, and you need to like deal with helping people who aren't you. So start with helping people who are right next to you. I've been thinking a lot recently. That's why I haven't been making videos, because I'm very frustrated with the world. And I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't even say I'm upset. I'm plain old frustrated with the world because there is so much better that it could be, and it isn't, and I want it to be, and I'm working what I feel like is very hard to make it that way, and it's gonna take a long time. But I'm starting, and here it is. Don't be preachers, be sellers. That's what sells right now. But try to convince people that the world needs to be fixed and that it's doable by them. And then unionize your workplace, and then all go on a climate strike together. It's gonna happen. It has to happen, and it will, because I am going to make it to the year 2100, and I'm going to be there to say what life was like in the early 21st century, because I was there. And there are people, not many anymore, but a few years ago there were people who lived through the entire 1900s. They were born in the 1800s and they died in the 2000s. And that happened, and they saw all of the 1900s happen, and the 1900s was so much. And even more is going to happen this next century. And I am just trying to make it so that I will be comfortable and okay when I'm old. And in a world like this that seems so hard, but it's gonna happen. I keep vacillating back and forth wildly between incredibly upset and incredibly optimistic. Both in this video and in real life. People think I'm kind of an idiot. People read me as very naive and very dumb because I am generally an optimist, but also like I look young, and like we associate nihilism with maturity and whatever. But no, I feel like I moved through nihilism into optimism again, and it is a very mature decision. You know, for a 25-year-old. That's the video. I'm sorry. Welcome to the future. This is as good as it gets, but this is also as bad as it gets. Because this is this exact moment opening into October of 2019. And this is all that it was ever going to be. But it's also going to be better than this. Okay, good night, Internet. Have a good one.